Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Rafe gets a major break in Lee's murder. In the domain, Eric assured Nicole about her fight with Holly. He assured Nicole that Holly didn't detest her mama, but Nicole remained worried. Latterly, as Nicole and Eric awaited a contact, they heard moaning. They were scarified to find a man downward behind the domain bench. Eric knelt, said the man stank of booze, and turned him over. Eric and Nicole were surprised to see Leo. Latterly, Leo roused to Eric, putting him into bed. Leo made a crack about Zaddy put away him in again, and Eric streamlined a nonplussed Nicole about Leo's former crapulous caper. Nicole asked Leo what had happened, and Leo bemoaned his Dear John letter from Dimitri. She tried to console Leo with the idea that he'd find love again, like Eric, and she had. Leo allowed. The two lovebirds were kidding themselves. Leo began rambling about doing the wrong thing in order to do the right thing. He also launched into a story about being catfished on a date and escaping through a restroom window. Eric and Nicole were completely confused, especially after Leo claimed he wanted to make Nicole happy without hurting Eric in the process. Confused by Nicole's bafflement, Leo asked Nicole if J had told her yet. Before Nicole could clarify what Leo was talking about, he passed out. To Eric and Nicole's frustration, they couldn't rouse Leo and agreed to let him sleep it off. Latterly, Nicole and Eric participated coffee in Horton Town Square. They heeded to their fellowship. Sloane talked to a sleeping Jude in his buggy and stressed over being alone while Eric was out with Nicole. Someone knocked on the apartment door. When Sloane answered, she was saluted by a grim-looking E.J. As E.J. entered, Sloane incontinently asked him if he'd gotten the DNA results. With a shriek, E.J. sat on the bed and picked up Jude's toy. Terrified, Sloane had not been lying, at least not this time. Sloane wanted to know what J was going to do with the information about Jude's lineage. J said he had not decided yet, but he was curious about how Sloane had pulled the switch off. He believed she had to have had help. Sloane claimed she had acted alone, to which J snarked it was quite the accomplishment. Sloane told J about how Dimitri had appeared at her door with the baby. She had considered it an alternate chance after the confinement and a sign that she was meant to be a mama. She detailed how Dimitri had spiraled Leo into the taradiddle. J was maddened that his whoreson would choose his snooper nut over his family. Sloane asked J what he'd planned for Leo. Assured Sloane that Leo would be fine. J simply planned to take Leo for a nice little drive in the desert. At Sloane's alarm, E.J. claimed he was kidding. J believed that if he did not tell his woman the happiest news of her life and left her child with an amoral kidnapper, also that would make him an amoral bastard. Sloane needled E.J. about Nicole going back to Eric if Nicole learned the verity, and Sloane comforted E.J. about keeping quiet with the notion that Nicole had begun to accept her child's death and move on. Suggested to himself that he could take Jude to Nicole and pass the boy off as his and Nicole's son. Sloane guessed E.J. wouldn't want to raise Eric's son, especially since the child would ultimately look like and act like Eric. She again pushed the idea of letting sleeping tykes lie as the stylish result. Sloane also contended wife J not to take the child she loved down from her and down from the only home Jude had ever known. J considered her words as he handed back Jude's toy. Latterly, E.J. had arrived at Leo's apartment and reminded Leo, who was awake, that Leo had answered the door for him. J was scarified when Leo wondered where Nicole and Eric had gone. After chancing a splint in his hair, Leo was suitable to flash back that the brace had brought him home. Leo further recalled that he'd wanted to tell them the verity about Jude but hadn't gotten to the concession. Leo questioned why. J sounded relieved at the news, but he stopped in his tracks when. J held a phone up to his face. commanded Leo, to no way breathe a syllable about Jude. Leo's eyes widened as he took in the falling accidentally off a yacht and drowning quantum of plutocrat that was displayed on the phone. J. Verified that the plutocrat would be Leo's if Leo kept his mouth shut. Leo envisaged his life as a rich man yelling at particular sidekicks and pretending to like skiing, but was torn between the plutocrat and being a person of integrity. Leo caved and pushed the button on the phone that transferred the finances into his bank account. J. Promised Leo a debonair life full of spurt setting and degeneration if Leo kept his word. But if Leo failed to uphold the bargain, J advised, "I'll make sure you do not have a life." Leo drivelled that he understood. J. Chortled and added an excellent. Everett and Stephanie arrived at the Brady pub, fresh from many rounds of pickleball. Stephanie joked about wiping the bottom with Everett during their mates' tourney, while Everett smoothly reminded her about bouncing the ball off an opponent's head in the midst of their doubles game. Stephanie's leg began cramping, so Everett offered her a massage, which she accepted with a smile. As Stephanie and Everett milled over their menus, Stephanie fondly flashed back their first date when Everett and she had gotten caught in a rainfall with a broken marquee. Everett had eaten suspicious-looking hot tykes from a cellar and had ended up with food poisoning for days. Everett said he'd wanted to kiss Stephanie poorly that day but had backed off because he'd felt it had been too soon. Stephanie and Everett gabbled with ease about history dates, including a movie she had loved but he'd set up long and boring. She thanked him for introducing her to a card game and challenged him to a match. Their good time was intruded, still, when the woman Everett had hit on preliminarily approached the table. She gestured to Bobby with a suggestive smile and paraded down. Everett took a quick drink when Stephanie inquired about the woman. He claimed he did not know the woman and suggested she might have been an old familiarity from his time in Seattle. Stephanie, not looking completely convinced, remarked, "Small world." A distracted Everett agreed. Stephanie encouraged Everett to talk with the woman and find out how she knew him, but Everett dismissed the idea. He changed the subject and asked Stephanie out for a regale date in Chicago. Stephanie accepted and left. Everett also hesitantly approached the woman at the bar. He asked the woman when they had met. The woman scarfed and told Everett they had had drinks together 2 days prior. Everett mentioned that she had called him Bobby. The woman, taken suddenly, said she'd have a drink away and departed, murmuring "codger" under her breath. Everett appeared puzzled. At the police station, Rafe streamlined Jada on the tests run on Clyde's book. The analysis had verified that blood had been on the cover, but tests were still being conducted on the blood itself. The law-breaking attempts had proven unprofitable, still. Jada had been pouring cold case lines. She expressed renewed determination to bring Clyde to justice. She lamented how unsolved mystifications and a lack of check could hang someone. Rafe asked Jada what had been hanging her, and she admitted it was Bobby. More specifically, Jada recalled how, when they had first met, Bobby had approached her about chancing his mama. Bobby had informed Jada that his mama had faded one day, and his father had claimed she had left the family. The riddle had always counted heavily on Bobby. Rafe was surprised that Jada had gone into similar detail about Bobby in an compassionate way because she had preliminarily spoken so negatively about him. He believed Jada and Bobby had to have endured some good times together. Jada conceded that when she would first met Bobby, he presented himself as kind, intelligent, and incredibly facetious.